Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To you, Ambassador Nichols, just want to talk about, in following up on Senator Booker's questioning on Haiti, just want to make sure that the actions which we're taking in Haiti aren't solidifying opportunists over the interests of the Haitian people. And I saw where you met with representatives of the Montana group, made up of Haitian citizens and civil society leaders in late September. What were your takeaways from that meeting in terms of how the United States should move forward with an inclusive Haitian-led focused policy?
So my number one takeaways are, number one was the importance of security. We need better security to be able to get to free and fair elections in Haiti, and we're a long way away from that. The role of civil society in its broadest construct, private sector, non-governmental organizations, is vital. And bringing together a broad set of actors to agree on a way forward without an artificially imposed timeline from the international community is also vital. Those would be my main takeaways, sir.
Thank you. And I just urge you to continue to reach out to those civil society leaders in Haiti, because ultimately they have the vision which is going to be necessary to just change this underlying historical dynamic which exists there. So thank you for your good work. But let's just continue to focus upon that community of leaders who are risking their lives every day to try to provide the long-term vision for what has to happen there. On the subject of, yes, sir.
Absolutely, Senator.
Yeah, thank you. On the subject of climate change, the science is clear on the fact that climate change is an underlying driver of widespread humanitarian crisis and displacement throughout Latin America and the Caribbean. Therefore, I reintroduced legislation this year that aims to create a U.S. resettlement pathway for climate-displaced persons, given the United States bears an outsized responsibility for fueling global warming. Still, the majority of the CO2 is red, white, and blue after 200 years of leading the Industrial Revolution. And I was glad to hear that in response to my persistent calls for action on this topic, there is now a National Security Council interagency working group aimed at finding solutions to issues of climate migration. Do either of you have anything more you can share on the progress of this interagency working group and what potential solutions might be offered?
Thank you, Senator. I have not participated directly in that specific conversation, but I can tell you that climate change and its effects on the countries in our hemisphere is a central concern that I have. I had the pleasure of participating with Vice President Harris in her meeting with Prime Minister Mia Mottley of Barbados, and that was a key topic in that conversation. We are integrating climate issues into all of our diplomatic engagement throughout the hemisphere, and we are actively focused on mitigation measures for those states most at risk, as well as adaptation, particularly in the energy sector.
Yeah, well, I would urge you to continue to stay very engaged on this very important issue. We have to tackle the issues of climate resiliency and solutions for climate-displaced persons, which is just going to increase as each year goes by. And if we're doing that, we're actually working on one of the underlying drivers of mass migration coming out of Latin America, coming out of the Caribbean. So I just urge you to continue to elevate it as an issue, to drive it at the National Security Council as an issue that has to be addressed and factored into all of the resultant issues that are a consequence of our long-term ignoring of the climate crisis.
Absolutely, Senator.
So
Senator, I would just add, it's even more broad than that. The environmental degradation from narcotics trafficking throughout the region is also a major problem, and we are both working very closely with our partners in the region. We've seen the effects of illegal mining. We've seen the effects of runoff from waste from drug trafficking or drug production areas in Mexico and in Colombia, and we are working to raise that as well.
Thank you. Thank you both for your great work. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me have some final closing questions.